Hi everyone, welcome to Quanta's Q&A for August. We are just starting this, so a couple of quick housekeeping updates is one, if you are on this call and you want to send a question in, there is a button on your top left hand corner that has a question mark and it says Q&A. So you just press that button and you'll get a chat box and you just need to put in your questions there. Khalif will end up seeing the questions and he will tell me what the questions are, because for some reason I can't see them, which was the little hitch that we had at the last webinar. But again, welcome and let's get started. So Khalif, what are we starting with?
Well, we're going to start with the lymph protocol, and I think the first is, what do you do when somebody says they just want a lymph treatment, a full lymph treatment?
Okay, this is, if you belong to the Facebook group, you would have already seen several lymph protocols already posted up there, and we're actually having a more detailed one with all the explanation into the forum as we're building the protocol library. Now, with the lymph protocol, the easiest way to think of it is that if you actually are the type of person who palpates the lymph nodes, if you touch the lymph nodes and they are painful, I recommend using a pain primary patch. And if you touch the lymph and it is not painful, is you use a lymph boost. Now, the other thing also with the lymph protocol is that you want to try to use as little patches as possible. I know it sounds really weird when we're a company that is selling patches, but the reality of it is to actually meet the vision and the direction and the mission of the company is we want this to be as effective and as accessible to people as possible. So the less patches that we use, and people aren't walking around covered in patches, or they're not spending a stupid amount of money on patches, this will add to their healing, and this will actually add to their overall wellness. And from what I've seen over the last few years, the referral rates go up and they feel better. And more importantly, it's a much more effective way of doing things, and we want things to be as effective as possible. So here are the places I do recommend. If they're okay with patches around their neck, definitely go submax. And then the two on either side of the shoulders, and then the sternochyli, inguinals, and femoral. And that is about all I would do, because you've covered all the big lymph nodes. And you're going to create perfect circulation and drainage, and you've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, between 7 and 9 patches. A lot of people don't want to go submax because they don't want to be wearing patches on their face, which is perfectly fine. I do it especially for neurological clients because a lot of them do have swollen lymph nodes in their spinal cord and in their brain. So I always sort of try to convince them that that's really the way to go. Otherwise, if they don't want it in the front, you can actually put it on their C-spine, on the spinal cord, because that will also affect the lymph nodes going to the brain and down the spinal cord. I think a lot of the times we forget the extent of the lymph nodes, and we forget the extent of where they go, and they do go all the way up into the brain, down the spinal cord, through the entire body. So in terms of remembering that you are working with subharmonic, subsonic sound, you want to cover as much space as possible so that all the organs and the entire system is listening to the sound of those patches. So again, a quick repeat, a lymph protocol is submax here by the shoulders, so that you are getting the nice big lymph nodes there that go into your arms and into your torso. Put it on your sternochyli, which is your, I'm having a mental blank right now. You'd think I don't know anything about anatomy. So your solar plexus, inguinal lymph nodes, and femoral lymph nodes, and that should really cover your entire system. So that is the full lymph protocol. However, most people aren't going to come in and say, I want a full lymph protocol. But we all know how important the lymphatic system is. So there is usually not a single client that leaves my office without a lymph boost on their solar plexus, so the sternoculi. It's literally actually, I'm going to do a quick show and tell here. Some of you get to see. For those of you who are on the webinar, you will be able to see me and me holding something up. For those of you who are listening to this recording after the fact, unfortunately, we cannot actually, you don't actually get to see the show and tell. So that would actually be a kind of a good reason to actually be able to try to make the call. Is that I do, you're missing on some of the audio visual. So I'm going to hold this up, and this is the app Essential Anatomy 5, and it's got a really great lymph structure that you can play with, and you will see the really cool thing about this is you actually get to see the size of the lymph nodes. And so what you want to do is, if you've got this app and you can see the lymph nodes, is you want to target the lymph nodes that are as big as possible. And my definite one that I always get is, if I can poke on this app, is basically the sternoculi, which is right in the middle, solar plexus. You get a lot of bang for your buck if you are.
Fiona, we're not able to see what you're showing us. Do you want to go to the right a little bit?
Oh.
So yeah, because your thing is coming off the screen.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll do that for the next show and tell. But anyway, for those of you who don't have it, get Essential Anatomy 5. It's going to change your world. It's going to change your practice. It's actually also going to change how your clients can actually interact with you, because now you can really do a very interactive show and tell, and you can poke and see a few things. So I think that's it for the lymph protocol. Another thing I want to point out is that, as most of you know, we have bracelets for, I think, 5 things right now. And so coming up, probably in the next week, we are going to have a lymphatic bracelet. I actually have one, and I love it because, as most of you know, with my autoimmune issues that I've had over the years, my number one thing is I always take care of my lymph. I can't begin to stress that. So for me, I personally go between the lymph bracelet, the performance bracelet, and the menopause bracelet, which we are actually also going to be putting out in the next week. So I alternate between them each day, and it's been life-changing for me. So we will be putting the lymph and the menopause bracelet up on the website next week.
So aside from the lymph boost in the bracelet, what other sort of maintenance can one do with their clients around lymph?
With lymph boost bracelet, the other thing is also dry brushing. If you have access to a laser, hot or cold laser, I always do a lymph protocol on the sternoculi with some laser light. And I also do it over the spleen with a laser. The other thing I do in my private practice is I use a lot of herbal tinctures. So that always keeps that going. And a lot of my clients use Quanta Digest to keep the lymph system within the gut working. So those are things that you can consider. But things in terms of self-care for your client, dry brushing is one of the best things that they can take up every day before they jump in the shower.
Cool. So how do you go about talking to your clients about lymph protocols and why they need it?
Mm-hmm. The lymph is the most underrated system in the body, but the best way to describe it to your clients is that your lymph system is your sewer system. It is the part that is going to be taking out all the gunk, all the things we process, and it needs to eliminate it. And the only way, but because it doesn't have its own pump, it needs to be constantly stimulated so that it can move. And you will see a lot of clients who come in with edema through the ankles, or even just swelling. And you can even show them that when you press the skin on the forearms and you take your hand away and there's a print mark, that sort of level of edema is telling you that you are not getting that sort of lymphatic drainage that you need. So it can actually be very visual. You don't actually need to palpate all the lymph nodes and cause pain or distress that way. I think about 5 years ago, a lot of people started talking about lymphatic drainage in terms of a detox. And for a lot of people, when you did one of these herbal detoxes or supplement detoxes, it actually made the situation, you really felt the detox because you were now pushing stuff into the system. And most people, their liver wasn't able to take care of it. The liver was already down. So for me, in terms of talking to my clients about lymph protocols, it's sort of about, hey, you know what, let's just keep the pipes moving. Let's just keep the pipes healthy and keep that sort of drainage going. And a lot of people, it takes about a week or so for them to start noticing a difference, but a lot of the times you can also do before and after photos, especially if someone who's never done a lymph protocol before, you'll actually see even facial swelling come down because, again, you have lymph nodes everywhere, and a lot of them are actually neck and head. So you will sort of start seeing some of those differences as well.
Cool. Hey, you talked about the lymph bracelet, and are there other bracelets that are coming out that are already a part of the website on what's available in the products?
Yeah, so at the moment on the website, we have got stress and anxiety, vitality, anti-aging. We've got chronic pain, performance, which is really great for recovery. And we have, why is my brain blank? Oh, we've got the 5G bracelet, which is specifically designed to protect people from EMRs and EMFs, and the 5G network. And I feel like we're missing, and an arthritis bracelet. So we've got 6 bracelets currently on the website for sale. It's available to practitioners at practitioner pricing, and it is available to the consumer public with the consumer public pricing. And we're adding to it with the lymph bracelet, the menopause bracelet, the fertility bracelet, and an osteoporosis bone repair bracelet. So in the next week, we're adding 4 more to the product line. So we will have a total of 10 bracelets that are already pre-programmed that you as a practitioner don't have to think about what to put in it. Of course, for those of you who like to custom bracelets for your clients, that is still absolutely available. But again, when you custom a bracelet, please do take into consideration and build in an extra 3 to 4 days in processing time.
Cool. So I think like one of the big things that Quanta patches are being used for is pain and pain management. So can you talk a little bit about the pain patches and how to use them and what they're best used for based on what they are?
Yes, absolutely. So let's go through them. There are currently 12, if I remember correctly. There are 12 pain and repair patches. So we'll start with the pain ones. The basic pain patch is called Pain Primary, PP. And Pain Primary is really good for elderly or young kids, or just general inflammation. So this is Pain Primary is also part of the lymph protocol that we use. So if the lymph node is painful to touch, you put a Pain Primary over it, and then you put the lymph boost. Pain Ease was designed specifically to start relaxing the body down if there is some sort of constant pain. So, for example, if you have migraines or a headache, actually, personally, I prefer Pain Complex for a migraine and Pain Ease for a headache. And it's almost like, because migraines are more neurological and spinal cord based, Pain Complex does work better on it. So with Pain Ease, people have also reported that it's really good for muscle injury. So if a muscle has been bruised, Pain Ease has apparently just been a workhorse for that. Now, I just want to point out that when we talk about protocols at Quanta, or when we talk about protocols in the forum, or even me talking about them now, there is no optimal protocol. We are all in the learning process, and definitely these protocols have been clinically tested so far. However, we are growing as a community and we are learning as a community. So I do encourage everybody to share what they're doing, because there are certain combinations and pairings of patches that have worked for some people's clients, and we all don't see the same type of client. So that is particularly important for the growth of our community, is that we are able to sort of see what potential and where this technology can really go and take us, and then how we, as they say in the biohacking world, how we stack different protocols and different modalities together to get the best results we can for our client. So the next patch is Pain Chronic. Pain Chronic is actually really good for people who have non-specific pain, or people who have just been suffering pain from an injury that has lasted for a really long time. So, for example, fibromyalgia has responded really well to Pain Chronic. Most people who do have fibromyalgia have also been purchasing the chronic pain bracelet, and to make it really effective, we add free radical support and advanced repair to it. So that's always a nice pairing. Pain Complex, I love to use on the spinal cord. So if you have a pain in a peripheral limb, just follow it back to the spinal cord, and you can actually put Pain Complex on there, and you'll start seeing a change. Pain Complex is also extremely good for neurological pain, or what I call a neurological stutter. So things like Parkinson's. With Parkinson's clients, I usually put 3 on. So one at C, one at T-spine, and one at L-spine, and it smooths down that nervous system response. Because I've always described it to Parkinson's patients, it's like your body wants to move a certain way, but somewhere along the way, it's developed a stutter. And so what Pain Complex can do is literally soothe down that stutter, so you actually get better movement control and you get better nervous system control. The other thing I really like Pain Complex for is migraines. So you put one C-spine, and most people will just swear that their migraines go away within an hour. Or I have certain clients who, if they know a migraine is coming on, they'll put that on, and they say that it's actually abated migraines. So again, play around with it, and let me know how you go, and let the community know how you go. Pain Acute. Pain Acute is extremely simple to use. It goes where there is acute pain. And I've laughed about this, and I know I've said this multiple times, is that the patch technology and the way that we've curated it is so that you don't need to overthink things. We've named them in such a way and designed them in such a way that it should be more paint by numbers and common sense than anything else. So with pain acute, you're really, if there's acute pain, put it on the spot of acute pain. And so that's how the pain patches work. Now, pH balance. pH balance is great for things like ascites, joint injury, gap, and even some liver conditions. With pH balance, as most of you know, joint pain comes through when there is an imbalance in pH levels. Gout pain comes through when there is an imbalance in pH levels. So my favorite gout protocol is actually a pH balance and a pain acute on usually the swollen foot, the swollen joint in the foot. And then I do a kidney support as well as a pH balance at the kidneys. Advanced repair is what I call the absolute Wolverine patch. It pairs with everything. It is loaded with carnosine and amino acids like glutathione, carnosine, carnitine. So I don't think, again, it's one of those patches that I don't think people ever leave my office without one on. Advanced repair is also super fantastic for any skin issues. So if a person comes in and they're like, well, I'm really not sure about this, but I have a skin condition of some sort. Advanced repair. It is advanced repair and free radical support are also the frequencies that are embedded into Quanta Rejuvenate Face Spray. And they are absolute workhorses, and both of them boost the effectiveness of that is within our catalog. So free radical support is exactly that. It is amino acids and that help with the removal of free radicals in the system. It is definitely loaded with a lot of glutathione. If you're working on scar tissue works really well with advanced repair, free radical support, and a cellular energy. Really, if there were three patches that I had to pick to always keep in clinic to make sure I don't run out, it would be pain acute, advanced repair, and free radical support, because you can pretty much do everything and affect a lot of change within multiple systems with those three patches alone. Joint ease is really great for exactly what we've named it for, joint ease. So arthritic pain, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, really as close to the joint as possible. It becomes a bit silly to try to put it over the joint because of the movement of the joint. So just put it into a flat surface close to it so that there is comfort in movement. Osteo repair is good to accelerate any broken bones or bone healing. For people who have had fractures and broken bones, they have reported osteo repair, advanced repair, free radical support, and pain acute are the 4 patches to use to really start the healing process. Osteo repair is also the frequency that is going into the osteoporosis bracelet. Now, the reason I would do osteoporosis more as a bracelet rather than a patch is because it is a long-term use thing. We are building depleted bones, and as cool and as amazing as I know our technology is, we are still working within the realm of biological speed limits. So what we're doing as practitioners is facilitating healing. We're facilitating the transformation of the healing environment for the body. So for a lot of people, they want to have that, the the building of the bones. But one patch for 3 days is not going to be the magical solution for it. Constant exposure to the frequency is going to be much better for it, which is why I go with bracelets. Some people actually enjoy wearing the patches, so then they would actually wear osteo repair for a period of 3 months, and that works great too. But again, the point of what we're doing is to try to give people as many options that are least invasive, biggest bang for their buck that we can. The next patch is MyoBoost. MyoBoost is great for anything muscular, any muscular inflammation. If you are a massage therapist and you have a client come in and their muscles are just locked out, it's super tight, I recommend a MyoBoost and a Systems Ease just to relax that muscle down. And between MyoBoost and Systems Ease, it will actually save your hands as a massage therapist or any of you doing soft tissue work. Put it on, give it 5 minutes, and then work that tissue, and you will start seeing that sort of healing happen for them, because the muscle can actually relax. Finally, Nerve Boost. Now, with Nerve Boost, one of the things we're going to do with the release of the workbook is that Nerve Boost is going to be moved to a level 2 patch. The reason we're doing that is because for a lot of people, when they start working with nerves, things can go both ways, and it can overstimulate a nerve. And if you are not used to working with nervous systems and nerve pain, and you are not used to explaining to your clients and your patients what could be expected, because as a nerve heal, it can actually feel more pain. And if you don't know how to explain that, we are really going to be on the side of caution on this, because we do want the user experience to be as comfortable as possible. So we are going to be putting that to level 2 so that you can actually come to a webinar or a class, and we can actually have a full discussion and really go down the rabbit hole of how nerves work and how nerves respond to repair. It is one of those tricky things that while you as the practitioner might be able to put this Nerve Boost patch on them and you know that the nerve is healing, the sensation that the client and patient feels might not just be this, straight up healing sensation. They could feel more pain. And if you don't understand how nerves repair, I caution against the use of using that patch. It's a great patch. There is no, because we're working with sound, there really is no side effect to the human body, but what your clients can feel is the sensation of the healing process. So that needs to be addressed and managed, because I think as practitioners, we want to give our clients the best experience possible when they come in to see us. So that would be all of the, and Nerve Boost works fantastic with pain complex. So I love the combination of those two, and of course advanced repair and free radical support as well. And I think that means that I've covered all 12 patches.
Great. So with that, like how when you're talking about adding a variety of different patches based on a particular ailment, are there any that you would recommend having together for anything in particular? For example, if I'm suffering from like a major back injury, do I want to have like pain complex and maybe pain acute? How would you pair them, and how would you pair them with other patches that are not necessarily in the pain line?
Okay, so the biggest thing is to take care of the squeaky wheel. What is the thing, when that client comes in to see you, what is the biggest thing for them? And so a client who comes in and they've thrown their back out, the last thing they're going to do is come in and say to you, hey, can I do a lymph protocol? So that's not going to happen. If they've come in and thrown their back out, you want to try to take that pain away as soon as possible. So you want to bring down the inflammation. You want to bring down the local inflammation while at the same time supporting them systemically, which is why you're going to start seeing in the workbook, and as well as the protocols in the forum, you are going to have the categorization of, let's take care of the major injury. So for example, if you came in with lower back pain because you threw your back out doing I don't know what, I would put a pain complex and a pain acute. I would probably put a pain complex on the spinal cord closest to the site of pain, and a pain acute on the point of the most pain, and then a lymph boost on the cisternochili, and a free radical support on the liver, because now I've taken care of the local issue, I have taken care of the nervous pain issue, and I've taken care of and given it some lymphatic support, because as we're healing, we're going to be producing more crap that needs to leave the system, and we're just giving it a holistic support without having to go down the whole systems out. We're dealing with what the client came in with, is my back hurts, please make this go away.
That's fair. So one of the things that Miranda was asking about is she wants to know when she will be able to take a class or take a course in the Bay Area, as she'd like to use the patches on herself and for her clients.
So one, Miranda, you should already have access to the store, so go ahead and just purchase them, and you are free to use, definitely use them on yourself. We can have a conversation. Let's set up a call this week, and let's have a conversation about making sure that you're able to start using this with your clients as well. But definitely you should already have full access to the store. In terms of a live class, we are hoping to have one soon. We're actually finishing the workbook and then looking at the calendar to see when we can start putting in the live workshops as well as the webinars. So it's been a I have to say, it's been an extremely interesting process, because I've been playing with bioenergy for a few years now, and I tend to overthink it, and I go down rabbit holes, and I think about 20 different things that people actually don't need. I'm just overthinking it. So having Sue Stanley come on to actually help us create the workbook and the education has been great, because she's like, no, let's focus on what people can take away and start using straight away. So that's the direction of the education, and then we can get more complex in the new year. But the workbook is definitely on the way out. But Miranda, let's set up, send me an email, let's set up a call, and then we can sort of have that conversation to get you going and get your clients taken care of as well.
Cool. Another question that we got for folks who are RSVP through the form where folks used to RSVP was asking if you could explain the application of the patches if you're not wanting to use the adhesive of the disc.
With what I talked about at the last Q&A?
Yeah, well, what they said was they actually suggested, let's see here, backing, blah, 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 and apply tape to hold it in place. Is it that easy? They said the initial learning had them believing that discs activate once the heat activated from being on the skin. Can you explain how the discs work / activate?
Okay, yeah, okay. So there is actually multiple parts to that question. There's multiple parts to that question, so I'm going to take it from the top. So first of all, at the last Q&A, I explained to you that the adhesive is literally just a vehicle for the patch to stay on the skin. And you don't, if you have an allergic reaction to the adhesive, on a clinical level, I'm going to say, hey, you know what, you've got a bigger problem of the histamine response in the lymph, and that's a completely different thing. However, with the application of the patch, it doesn't actually have to stick on the body. So most people find that it's good to put it on the inside of their clothes. You can absolutely cut a circle around. It's just, again, about how is it that it's not going to fall off. So I usually recommend taking it off the backing and putting it on clothes, or Another thing that people can do is they put like a gauze and stick it on the gauze. So now remember, you can stack the patches 10 deep. So literally you can have patches that go an inch and they will still work. So if you want to really go crazy, you can stack 10 together and put them on the back of your neck, and they're not going to be comfortable, but all 10 patches will be sound that the body can absorb and learn and use. So one, feel free to cut around it if you can kind of find it, to put it somewhere in their clothes or pin it. Well, I suppose you could pin it to them, but do not pierce the mylar. My recommendation is to try to keep the patch as whole as possible. So don't break the mylar, don't cut the mylar, keep the mylar whole, because you don't want to break the carbon crystalline structure that is woven through the mylar. However, in terms of how they work, they just need to be close enough for the body, for the body to hear the sound. Which leads me to talking about the activation of them. They don't need to be activated because they are already active. I'm going to say that again. The patches do not need to be activated because they are already active and ready to go out of the packet. The only thing that the only thing the human body it needs to be close to the human body or to the animal body, because of the way the frequency works, it will then be able to use it. However, the patches are already ready to go. It does not require heat. Push comes to shove, if you don't want to put it on the inside of your clothes, you can even put it on the outside of your clothes. As long as the body can hear it, it will respond to the patches. So I'm hoping that answers that question, but I'm also going to guess that at the next Q&A, we're going to get a whole load of other questions. This is also exactly how things like Quanta H2O works. When water hears the sound that is already being produced by the chip, it automatically restructures itself. So the chips do not need to be activated because they are already working.
Excellent. Thank you. Did anybody else that's currently present have questions that they wanted to ask right now? Just going to throw that out there. While we're waiting for that, Fiona, one of the things that you talked about that kind of lit up for me was how the patches activate like in your body. And that kind of brought me back to like Quanta's philosophy around kind of creating your own, I like to call it the bubble, you know, but your own biome, right? So can you talk about the Quanta philosophy around that?
Absolutely. So again, a couple of things I'm really, really excited about is that our website is getting a revamp to actually be much more user-friendly to the consumer and to teach them about the healing potential of their own bodies. And so the Quanta healing philosophy is that we're here to transform your healing biome, and we're spelling biome B-I-O-H-M, om as in sound frequency, biome as in the entire human body. And I've talked about creating a self-care bubble around yourself, and I've done that as a practitioner for over a decade. But as a company, we have the understanding that the only thing that can heal the human body is the human body. So as practitioners, as a company, our job and our role is to help you change that healing environment. If you cannot change that healing environment, you cannot heal. So what we do is that when we introduce the patches, the sound, all that is doing is that it is starting to change the healing environment and the stimulus that your body is receiving in order for it to heal itself. And we support it with the lifestyle products like, Quanta Renew to help you sleep better. Again, giving your body more resources to heal itself. Quanta H2O, changing its hydration levels. So again, heal. Hydration and sleep, the two most important things that we need to heal. So that is the quanta healing philosophy, is that we are here mainly as facilitators to create the best healing environment for your body.
Groovy. So we had a question come in. How long do the chips and bracelets last? And how long do patches last? And how do they run out? So three questions, actually.
I know. I was like, one question? No, that is not one question.
Get your notepad.
The Quanta H2O chips last a month. They last a month, and it's going to sound crazy when I say it, and I'm actually looking forward to actually doing the research studies for it so that we can visually see it. But if you have been using Quanta H2O for a while, you will know that about the 4-week mark, your water starts tasting different again, and it feels like it's tasting different again. So that is the component. It just starts wearing out. The bracelets last a year. The Quanta Renew chips for the bed last 6 months, and the pet chips last 6 months per chip. The way that they run out, and in terms of energetics, is that the carbon crystalline structures, and again, we can, one of the things I want to do is to start having a more technical catalog for everybody so that they can understand this. And I'm actually waiting to hear back from our manufacturers engineers as to what we can put out there for you that does not interfere with their patent application process. So we're kind of at this balancing point at the moment, is to try to give you as much information as possible. But as the technology goes through the patent application process, is to find that nice medium path that we can all be on, without sort of causing issues for anybody. Did I get all the chips? I feel like I didn't answer all those questions.
So let's see. How long did the chips and bracelets last? You answered that. How long do patches last?
Okay. Patches can last between 3 and 7 days. For most people, usually at about 7 days, I say, please take the patches off anyway, because the adhesive starts getting funky, and I really like the skin to breathe. So on a kind of hygienic level, don't leave them on for more than 7 days. A lot of people, with some people, they just go and go and go. But I just say, for a hygienic skin, breathing, general health wellness thing, if they last for more than 7 days, take them off and start again. Some of the times, the reason they don't last as long as the bracelets and the chips is, if you look at the structure of them, they're much more flexible, which means that the carbon crystalline composite starts getting damaged, and so the part that is holding the frequency and the energy just dissipates. So that's why patches only last 3 to 7 days.
I imagine that's handy for when your body's moving, right? You want that to be flexible and to move with you.
Exactly. Whereas, the bracelet is just the solid piece. The chips are, if you've ever felt the chips are very solid. So it's literally the hardware structure of what is going on.
Perfect. Let's see. Will the body start to function properly once it's tuned by the chips, or do we take them off to see if the body can do it on its own?
Can you say that again? I think I know where I want to.
So will the body start to function properly once it's tuned by the chips, or do we take them off to see if the body can do it on its own?
Yes and yes. So the short answer is yes and yes. So when you think about it, everything that exists that is alive has its own frequency. It has its own optimal vibrational frequency. And so when it's not vibrating at the level that it needs to be vibrating at, that's when you start seeing the illness and the disease and the degeneration. So, for example, and I keep using the liver because I really do think that the liver is another underrated organ. Your liver is supposed to be vibrating at X frequency. For whatever reason, the average human's liver is vibrating below or above it, and mostly below. So what you're doing is when you're introducing a patch to the liver, like liver support and free radical support, you are giving it a stimulus for it to say, hey, for you to be at homeostasis, for you to be functioning at optimal, you want to be at this sound. And so the body naturally moves towards it. I think the best way of describing this is if you think of your body as as an orchestra. And just before the curtains go up at the orchestra, they do that sound check. And there is always that one instrument that when you do the sound check, it's off by a little bit and the whole audience just goes, oh, I can hear it. Oh my God. And then they take a few moments to retune that instrument so that it moves as a full orchestra and everything is harmonic. That is exactly the same as your human body. That is exactly the same as what your body is doing. Your body is an orchestra. And so we are able, with the patches, to tune certain organs, certain systems. And once it gets going, it is going to be fine. It is going to be fine for a certain period of time. However, we're human, we're breathing, we're creating free radical, we're creating damage. We don't eat well, we drink too much, and we don't sleep enough. So we are still constantly creating damage. And when we do create that damage, that frequency is going to drop. And so, and as far as I'm concerned, I have a feeling that, I'm able to give my body the best stimulus for it to cellularly regenerate. And I can go X amount of weeks without any patches or X amount of whatever. But when I start feeling a little bit off, a little bit not as great as I could be, I'll slap on a couple of patches. And then my body just, again, it's like a violin, an orchestra that can fall off tune over a period of time. When you think about it, if you own a piano, you tune, you pay to tune your piano once a year. I think it's once a year. You should be tuning your piano once a year. Human body is exactly the same. So the body will know what it can do once you give it the right stimulus and it meets its optimal point. But just because we are replicating and regenerating, and you will have degradation. So now you actually have access to a stimulus that can help repair some of that degeneration.
So if once a body is tuned, right? So something happens to me, I'm out of whack, I get treatment, and I'm using patches and probably a bracelet, and things are working right for me. And then I'm not using the technology, but a little bit later down the road, something happens again. Is it easier for my body to respond to patches like in round 2 or round 3?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because now it's, now the body goes, oh, I know that sound. I know that makes me feel happy. That is where I want to be. For our trainers, for our practitioners who are personal trainers, it's almost like that muscle memory. It's when we talk about muscle memory, or for those of you who work with the power plate, you're going to see people and they come back, months later, they've stopped training with you and they hop back on the power plate and they start getting the hypertropic responses that they used to. You will see that, people talk about, I used to be an athlete and now I'm 20 years post retirement, but their bodies bounce back differently because of the stress the body is used to responding to, the way that the body knows how to repair. So there is definitely a level of repair memory in that.
Cool. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have about 10 more minutes left if anybody has any other questions that they would like to ask. While we wait for that, you were talking about a couple other things, and I'm reminded that I need to buy some more Rejuvenate. But Aside of that, can you talk to me a little bit about like why Rejuvenate works so well for me? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
it feels good when it goes on. My skin is happy, but I don't get why.
Okay, so Rejuvenate, one of the really cool things about liquids is that liquids can retain memory. Liquids can be programmed. So I think, off the top of my head, I can't remember his name, but there is a photographer, and I think you've all seen this on social media, when water cells are exposed to different music and different emotions, the cells actually change. And he's recorded this on a micron. Is it
That's
film?
it's Dr. Masaru Emoto.
That's the one. So when so you can actually visually see it. So liquids are a super cool programmable entity. And what we've done with Quanta Rejuvenate is to actually infuse it with advanced repair and free radical support. So one, you've got all the stuff, the base liquid, which is completely natural, which is great for your skin anyway. But just to really boost it, we've put it through the accelerator frequency generator and loaded it with sound. And I know men love it because it actually almost instantly removes, if they've been shaving and they're skin sensitive, they spray it on and it removes the redness. I actually wear it as a makeup setter because who doesn't want to glow? And people with skin conditions like eczema, and even with hemorrhoids, people spray, I haven't figured out how people do it yet, but we have been getting a lot of reports that it's been great for external hemorrhoids. So I'm guessing people are just spraying it on or putting it on a sponge pad and applying it. But it's totally topical, and now you're putting the sound frequency kind of in a dispersal spray over your skin. So that is how Quanta Rejuvenate works.
Yeah, I actually often put on heavy amounts of clown makeup, and it's good for my skin when I take that off at the end of the day.
Yes.
So you talked a lot today about, especially when we were talking about pain and the pain patches and a variety of combinations that we can use and things like that. So will the workbook include like recipes for some of the ones that you were talking about today?
Yes.
There's a lot of patches, and it's hard to know which ones are best when it seems like all of them can be the right choice, really.
Correct. So we've broken down the workbook. At the end of the workbook, I believe we're putting out 30 protocols. And these are 30 protocols that you're going to see kind of a lot of in just everyday practice. I have a very Fiona, the clinician, has a very unique practice in which I get to see some of the funkiest, coolest stuff most people don't get to see. And so I tend to go down a rabbit hole on that one too. But the workbook is going to be way more practical. It's going to be things like sprains and sores. Basically, I call them the owie protocols. Anything you can break, hurt, twist, sprain, injure, bruise, we've got a protocol for that. We've got things for things like PMS and menstrual pain. There is a stress and anxiety one. So off the top of my head, this is what I can remember so far without pulling it up on my screen. We've got joint pain, sprains, muscle soreness, muscle tears, headaches, stress and anxiety, menopause, PMS, lymph, definitely the lymph protocol in there. Constipation, GI distress. I'm having a mental blank, but there are about 30 protocols in there, and an explanation of why the patch is so effective for that particular condition. We are also building the protocol library on the forum. It has, most of you have probably already just seen me putting dots on paper. Sue, be very, very thankful for Sue Stanley, because Sue Stanley sits there going, nobody wants to read your chicken scratch. And most people really need to understand the thought process behind why that patch is in its particular spot. So we've been going through systematically and explaining and showing how it links to various research that has already been published on why we use that patch for that particular protocol. So I will definitely say it's very involved. I'm super excited about it. And I'm so looking forward to, we're basically giving you a recipe book so that you can go out and create your own recipes. It's a guideline. It is not written in stone. It is a guideline so that you feel confident in understanding how this can affect your clients and your practice. So for example, maybe a cooking analogy might be a good way to go on this one, is that we're giving you the basic cake recipe, and if you just happen to turn it into a 12-layer chocolate ganache cupcake, more power to you, and I'll be very excited to see what you can do with that. But we're basically giving you the confidence to know that a cake has butter, flour, eggs, and water. And then where you take it is where we're very excited to go with you.
Cool. So we have one last question. Mm-hmm. Will there be a background on how it works, a history, etc., so to help me better explain to my more skeptical clients?
Yes, and we're also going to be, like I said, we're going to have the workbook as well as the forum online, and you're going to be able to, where we're going with this is you're actually going to be able to print out flyers and PDFs. They're called PDFs, right? FAQ PDFs that you can give to clients. The website, we have been systematically working on building a much more user-friendly website, which will allow the average person to come in and really start understanding what bioenergy is. And the other thing we really want to do as a company is we want people to sort of say, I believe in bioenergy because there is science behind it and because there is a thought process behind it. We really don't want people to come in and just go, oh, I'm using it because I trust you, which is great, which is how a lot of us have amazing practices, because our clients, you walk up to a client and you go, here, put a sticker on. And they go, oh, great. I love you as a practitioner. I trust you, so I'm going to put it on. We need to go beyond that as practitioners. We need to be able to go, one, trust me, because there is the science and there is the technology and then there is the thought process behind it so that you can confidently use it and confidently heal. So yes, those resources are in the development stage. And I will once again say thank you for your patience. But it has been a long process because we've had to, one, we're a small company, but two, we really had to go down a few different paths to remove a lot of the myths that exist about bioenergy and what it does, and then distill it into a understandable that if you're 8 years old, you would buy into this technology, you will buy into the treatment because now you understand it. So it's been this evolution, and we've tried different things, and we've done the market research, and we've talked to a lot of people about where we're going with this. So we didn't want to produce and give you something that you can still give to a client and they go, oh, really? So that's one of the reasons why there has been this delay, is that we've really had to play with how do you explain it to those who are skeptical? How do you explain it without overwhelming them with the science? How do you explain it so that they can understand it and really embrace the technology and the healing potential that it can offer? And then there's also my personal part. I'm not going to put out anything that doesn't look pretty. So there is a design element to it as well.
Right. All right. I think that about wraps it up for this. Did you have any final words of wisdom?
No, other than this is the time that we're gonna do this every month. Don't be shy asking questions. I'm apparently starting to get used to talking to myself for an hour. I love hearing the questions come in when you guys RSVP, because it gives me things to talk about, or maybe things I haven't clarified enough as a company. And really, these Q&A sessions are ask us anything. And so it doesn't just have to be protocols. It doesn't have to be ask us anything, and where we're going as a company, where we're what we're excited about. And there's so much to be excited about, and I know that we are a small company, so I do have about 20 hats on at any given time. If it does take me a few moments to respond to your messages or your emails that you've sent to me personally, don't be shy sending me a reminder that I haven't responded to you, because I've probably just used my inside voice, or saw it on my phone and couldn't figure out how to put my glasses on it and type it back to you. And by the time I got back to my laptop, I may have forgotten. So don't ever feel shy about going, hey, Fee, you know what? You haven't answered my question, or you haven't answered my email. What's up? So please do that.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for showing up. Thank you for giving us all this wonderful information, Fiona. And we will see everyone next month.
We'll see everyone next month. And thank you again. Thank you for your time. Thank you, especially with the different time zones that we're all working on. Thank you for making the time to do this. And I'll talk to all of you soon.